and that's something you need to actually design, and it's animation focused. So I'm going to talk about animation today, so we're all on the same page. And I'm also going to talk about, let's see, syllabus. So let's see the syllabus just to see we didn't miss anything. So we had a quiz last week. Project 2 is due today, right? So if there are any questions on Project 2, I'm going to be here after class. And I guess like after that, we're pretty much moving on to animation. So let's talk about animation a little bit. Where is this link? So okay, so before animation, Project 2, this is the default Project 2, FYI, if you haven't seen it till now. So you're pretty much late in the game, but you can try to catch up. So what the main features of Project 2 were kind of this sphere drawing, and then you can change the glow, the opacity, size, and we could also change the color for kind of new new spheres or new shapes that we're going to draw. That were the main features. Another feature that we had was this kind of mouse indicator. And we also have this clock here. So today I'm going to try to finish that clock. And I'm also going to show you this AM, PM feature of kind of how to play with the light. But other than that, let me show you Project 3 now. So Project 3, and this is the default Project 3. So it's like a much fancier drawing project. You can see everything is still there, so you still have this kind of drawing stuff, but now like your objects may or may not move. Let's show this to you. So you can like draw things that move kind of, or multiple kind of movements. Let me just draw one of these things, and you can size them up or scale them. And same, you can play around with their glow or opacity and so on. So the new additions are basically animation. Another addition is kind of you can draw like these multiple objects at once. That's something we didn't do before. Maybe some of you did, but that's kind of more advanced. So we're gonna go over that. And also now when I'm changing the red, for example, slider here, or the color slider, it kind of changes the color on everything. So, and like we didn't have that previously here, say with this slider. That didn't change anything. That was just for new painted shapes. So here, like we actually see the difference. If you can basically change the color on the fly. Let me get some water before I cough too much. Okay, let me see if there's anything else interesting here. There's like this kind of type stuff. Not sure what that does. We're gonna go over that. Don't worry though. It's all very groovy. Any questions? Okay, so let's see like a short presentation on animations. Before that, so here's like an example user flow of Project 3. Again, you have to diagram 4 user flows. Let's talk about animation. So animation is basically, imagine you're working at Disney Animation or something, and you're just drawing a ball that's going through some kind of motion. So the way we're gonna do this in this class is just kind of putting like the ball in the places we want the ball to be at. So for example, the ball starts here, and the ball ends there, and goes through this position and this position, right? So that's going to result with an animation that looks like something like this. And we're going to show you how to create that. Let's see if this video works.
This is a keyframe. It keeps track of information. Imagine keyframes as invisible helpers that track how things should move or change over time. Let's use position keyframes as an example. Say we have a square and we want it to move from one side of the screen to the other. To make that happen, we set a keyframe here to say, at this time, I want the square to be here. Then we set another keyframe after it to say, at this time, I want the square to be here. Let's hit play. Notice how smoothly the square transitions between keyframes? The software automatically fills in the movement so that it flows perfectly from one position to the next. Keyframes are also important for timing. The length of time between two keyframes decides how fast or slow something changes. For example, if we set the keyframes 1 second apart, it will take 1 second for the square to move. If we set them 5 seconds apart, it will take 5 seconds for the square to move. Keyframes aren't just used for position. We can use them to change rotation, size, transparency, and more. You can also use multiple keyframes to have as many properties changing as you want. In fact, the more advanced you get at editing, the more keyframes you're going to use. You may notice in advanced software, every property has its own keyframe, whereas in some of the simpler editing softwares, they'll just use one keyframe to keep track of all the information. Multiple keyframes gives you more control, while a single keyframe keeping track of everything is just a little bit simpler. Keyframes are the building blocks of animation and video editing.
Okay, so let's deep dive a little bit. So if you really want to know more about animation, you can open this book in your spare time. It's basically how people in Disney did animations in a very old cartoon video, but it's the same principles are still relevant today. So what she just said is animations basically depend on the positions of your objects you're animating over time. So it's kind of like drawing in like the old Disney movies. So if you draw the objects in like a very same kind of space manner, so they're kind of moving in a constant speed. If you draw a lot here in the beginning and then kind of space it out, that means here they kind of are going very slow and then they kind of speed up. The opposite is also true. If you space them out, so they're going kind of very fast and then they slow down. And here it's kind of like in the middle, they kind of gonna slow down. So it's fast, slow, and fast. So the more space you have between the positions of that object, be in like and everyone does it in a different kind of speed or kind of sense of speed. So this kind of ease in, ease out, and ease in out kind of is a play with the speed of the car going from A to B. Why is this important to you? Well, right now it's not really important, but it's something that you will see in like say an hour or two. It's like another way you can vary your animation. So you can make something go sudden and then like slow down and then speed up again. Okay, let's stop this. Yeah, so there's all these kind of principles. I put some of them here. You can like look over the slides or watch the lecture later and read more about it. Not super important for the specific Unity things we're gonna do, but it may be helpful. Scenes. So I'm gonna to do animations. Let's just create a new scene just to make things kind of simpler. Where's my cube? It got lost. Well, I don't know where it is. Anyway, let's create a new scene. Where's the scene? Create scene, and let's just call it animation test. Okay. And here I'm just gonna create a cube. For now, we're just gonna have some play with a cube. Now, what I want to do is I want to create animation that uses this cube and moves this cube around. So let's just check that everything is okay with the cube. Let me just put it like to be kind of located at 0, 0, 0. It's always a good habit to have things, positions in the origin if you have something very specific you're trying to do. So this is my cube. Now, to create an animation, it's like a pretty annoying process, but let's just show you how to get started. The start is kind of annoying, and then it kind of is easy. So let's first of all, you need to create any animation. You need to do create. Let's see, is there animation? Okay, so there's like, if you look at the create here, let's go to animation. Create. There's a couple of animation related things you can create. There's like an animation controller, an animation, an animator override controller, whatever that is, and an avatar mask. The most relevant to us is animation controller, okay? Now, animation is something that is what we're going to use in a second. So this is like how the animation screen looks like. You actually need to put the screen over here. Otherwise, it's not going to show up. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. Now, this animation right now is not connected to this cube, and I cannot even show you what it does. But let me go over through the steps of what you need to do to create that animation. So we also need to do any kind of animation, we need something called an animator, okay? So let's see if we can create an animator here. Is there any animator here? Animator controller, no. Is there an animator here? Does anyone see an animator? 3D object. 3D effects. Where can we find, where's our animator? Does anyone know? Create animator controller. Anyone knows?
It'd have to be a component on the object itself.
Okay, so yeah, so let's just try that. So that's a good answer. So to do, I saw it. So say we want to do some animation, create some animation with this cube, we have to actually add an animator first. So I'm just going to type animator, and you can see it right here. So now I added an animator. It still doesn't do anything, but it exists here. Now I actually need to add like an animation to use this animator. Okay, so right now it's like empty. So this animator is a screen that kind of looks like this. It basically is a way to move between different animations. Say you have like a running animation and a walking animation. So this animator basically is a way to move from one state of animation to a different state of animation. So we have our animator. Now let's try to get it to work with an animation. Let's see. Okay, so I have my cube, and it says here to begin animating a cube, create an animation clip. Okay, so I just have to click on create. It's pretty straightforward. And this screen is something you get for free from Unity. This tab, sorry, let's call it cube animation. Okay, now when you're doing this for the first time, you don't have any animation, it's kind of blank. So let's kind of create an animation here. So if you click on, so you can see there's like you have this kind of timeline that goes from 0 to 1 minute. And it's all like in this, actually I think it's like, I'm not sure if it's a minute or a second, but it's all in this kind of 0, 5, 10, 15 kind of intervals. So if you click on add property here, it shows you a bunch of options to do an animation with. So you have a transform option, you have cube mesh filter option, mesh render option. Let's just do position for now. So what this means is you're gonna kind of do animations that involve the position of this cube. Let's click on position plus. Now, what I want to do is I want to move my cube from left to right. So let's, and I want to basically kind of save its state in that specific position. So to save its state, I need to kind of move it. I need to kind of select like a specific kind of spot here in the timeline, so I can tell it when exactly I want to save it. So let's say I move it here, and let's say I want it to be here. Okay, sorry, I want it to be here at 15. Now let's see how can I add this animation. It's a bit tricky. So as you can see, I'm kind of using this grid as a guide to where to put it. Now, you have a couple of ways to do this. There's like a keyboard shortcut, but the easiest way is to have your mouse kind of just click this. It says add keyframe. So let's do that. And now let me kind of do the same thing for, like, say when it's on 30. Let's say I want to put it like right here. And let's say add animation here too. Add keyframe. And let's move it, I don't know, back to there for 45. Add keyframe. And now you can just play it with the space. So that gives you all the animation. Okay. So I can actually play it a bit slower. I can play it slower by just kind of clicking on this just to go between the keyframes. So if this is complicated, I can also delete keyframes here. Let's say I hate these two keyframes, so I can just select them and click on delete. I can also move this keyframe, like say I want it to be here, for example. I can just click it with my mouse and drag it to wherever I want it to be. Okay, so let's play this again. Okay, so what happens now is we only have one keyframe here, and it just moves between the center position here and that point I selected. Any questions on that? Again, so the steps to do this is, let's stop this. So the steps to this, you need to select the object you're going to animate. Select here add component animator, and then you should have this animator component. Okay, I'm going to explain what this is in a second, but then you have this animation tab here, and here you have this create option that allows you to create this animation. And here you have a couple of different animation kind of things you can control, either the position, the rotation, the scale, or something else. Let's show you another thing. Let's show you, so this is just the position. Let's show you how this works, say with, let's say scale plus. Okay. So right now I'm not changing any scale, but let me just show you how to change it as an example. So let's say I just wanted to really get big, say when it's here. So I'll just select my cube, change the scale, could be, I don't know, let's change it to be this big, or maybe that's too big, this big. And then add that as an event and see how that works. Okay. So that kind of is I added like another animation event, which just controls the scale. Any questions on position or scale? Okay. Now I can also control rotation. Let me just do that too, just to complete this computer animation example. So let's add here, add a property, transform, rotation. And let's say that I want it to rotate also when it's in the beginning or something. So let's just select some sort of rotation, I don't know, cut that rotation like that, and add that again, add that keyframe, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it's the same kind of principle all the time. Now you can add a couple of keyframes, like, you know, you don't have to just use one or two. So here I can just change the rotation to something else. Here, say I want the rotation to be minus 45, that thing. And I also can add that as an event here. Okay, and then it can get really trippy really fast. Any questions on this cube? Okay. So what we're gonna do is, let's save this. Now this cube, say you want to use it in your drawing, you can. There's a cool way to do that. So let's stop this animation. Actually, maybe I'll just show you one more thing here. So we saw the position, rotation, and scale animations. Let's see the mesh renderer component. So you have the cube mesh filter, when there's all kinds of things here that I don't really care about. Let's delete that. There's mesh render. That's more fun because that actually controls the color of the cube. So let's see how to change. Maybe let's just change the color to be something else. Okay. Now, as everything with color, you actually need the material right now associated with the cube. So right now I don't have any material. Let's just add a material. Where's my materials? Let's add this blue material. I don't know. Be blue. Can you be blue? It is blue, but I don't see it being blue. Okay, yeah, something like that. So now let's just change them. Let's make it, as it's doing its animation, let's make it kind of change colors also. Okay, let's go back. Cube. Not sure why it doesn't stick with blue. Okay, let's actually make it. Let's actually make it. Actually, I have to add a keyframe, get it to be blue in that specific point of time. And now, like, let's change it to a different color. Let's say here, let's make it like, I don't know, red. And add another keyframe here. Okay. So now you have this kind of quirky cube that moves, scales, and rotates, and also changes from this blue to red. So it can get really trippy really fast. You can, like, you know, smoke something and be not believing what you're seeing. Anyway. Okay, so we have the cube. Great. Let's save this. So how can you save this? This is like one scene. Say you want to move it to a different scene. So the way to do it is you need to have like some sort of folder here, or some sort of place where you save all your kind of objects. Like usually, like if you saw the videos online, there's like a folder he's called prefab. So I'm just gonna save this cube. I'm just gonna drag this here into that prefab folder. Okay. Now it's like this cube is now saved into the prefab folder. So let's go to a different scene. Scenes. Where's my different scene? Let's save this. Yeah. So, and let's like load up the cube here. Okay. So you can actually just drag it. I think you can actually just drag the cube, and it'll, you know, it will work out of the box. So it will just work out of the box. It'll do its thing in your drawing app. But what I want to do is I want to actually draw these things. Okay, I don't want it just to be in the background like an annoying kind of trippy thing. So let's delete that here. Delete. Yeah. And Now, what I want to do is I want to somehow get this cube to work to be one of the painting options. If you remember, I have a couple of painting options. I have this my best painting object, which is like a funny name, and that's like some sort of pre-selected object that I'm going to use to paint. Let's see the code for that before I'll move on. So where's the code for that? Scripts, painting. Let's just see what that does. So, so if you remember, let's just go over this again before I show you how to use that cube. So I have these options to paint spheres, capsules, spheres, or a prefab. So the prefab in my case is some sort of existing kind of object in the scene. In my case, it's that the prefab is going to be this thing right here. So I call it cube, but it's more like a multi-cube thing. So let's just kind of change the name and to be consistent. Let's call our prefab like an animated cube. Let's just rename that animated cube. Okay. So what I can just do is I can drag this to that to replace my prefab here, and it should probably work out of the box. Let's just see. I'm going to drag this here. Now let's see if I didn't break anything. So I still have the spheres. I still have the capsules. But if I select the prefab, let's see if that works. So it works, but it just paints here. It doesn't let me paint anywhere else. We're gonna explain why in a second. But we got we got 50% to get it to work. So everyone agrees, kind of works. We just need to get it to actually paint on the right spot. Again, let me just show you that it doesn't work well. You can paint it, but it just sticks to a specific location here, which is annoying. Yeah.
Is it because it's animating the transformed opposition, it's setting it to its global position, so you would need to have the prefab as a parent?
Yeah, you're right. But let me explain that easier in an easier way. Yeah. So it's kind of like what you said. The problem is if we go back to animation. Where's our animation? Let's go to our animation scene. So this is where things get complicated, and you really need to pay attention. Otherwise, let's just save that. Otherwise, you're going to be sad when you're working on this stuff later on. So I have my cube here, and I have the animation for the cube. So right now, let's just zoom in on the cube again. So right now, the cube is changing its position, rotation, scale, and color through the animator. Okay. So in my script here, let's stop this so we're not too trippy. So in my script here, we have already a bunch of code that does do something with the position of that painting object. So basically what happens is the Unity animation kind of framework and your scripts are fighting together to control what will be the ultimate position of this cube. And because this is not a fair fight, the animator, that's what's going to decide the position. So there are a couple of ways around it, okay? One thing you can do before we get into parenting, kind of whatever, there's all kinds of ways around. One thing you can do is you can just remove that position component, okay? You can just delete that, okay? So now all your cube will do is just rotate, change colors, and scale, okay? So let's see how that works. Okay, so we can just make it simple. Let's stop that. So no changing of position, only changing for rotation and scale. So now let's kind of save this cube again. Why are you like missing here? Okay, let's change it. Let's just check that I didn't delete anything important here. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's still going. Good. So so it's in our prefab folder. Let's call this again animated cube. Animated cube. And then let's go to our different scene. We had like the main scene there, like the sample scene. Save this. Okay, and just see that everything is still linked. Okay, so you can see because I did a couple of changes, now I have to reassign that cube there. So let's do that. And let's play and see what happens. Okay, so I still have that, but I'm more interested to see if this works. Okay, and now you can see that actually works. So I can actually paint that groovy cube right now. Now it's not like one thing fix all. Now there's no way, because my animation actually changes the color of the cube, I cannot really change the color with my sliders. So I can actually, there are ways around it, but right now, no. I'm gonna show you the ways around it later on. Any questions? No? Okay. So hopefully this is recorded and you can watch these steps at home. Let me show you some more stuff about this animation. So let's go back to the animation project. Animation, right? Cube. Okay, so we had this kind of, let me just explain a couple of things just to be correct. So I have a couple of these options here. Maybe let's create a new guy, just make it simple. Let's create another cube, or a cylinder or something. Okay. And let me just hide this cube for a second and create like another animation here. So so just to follow the steps, we want the animator, and we want also an animation. Create cylinder animation. Now, what you can do, let's just go to 2D mode and do it like that. So instead of like kind of clicking whatever, you can actually click record here, and you can move the cube around, and that can also record the animation as you go. Let's just try that. So I can click record. So that's 1. That's 2. So you don't have to click on this add keyframe all the time. That's 3. That's 4. Not sure if it's going to work well, but we can try. 5. Okay, and let's click pause and let's see what happened. So it kind of did what I wanted it to do. So you can just click on record and then move it around, and that should kind of record the positions you're taking or whatever changes you're doing as you're moving this 3D object around. So that's like this record button. Stop that. Let me just keep one of these positions for now. Okay, that position. And maybe let me just move this here. Okay, so now you have this cylinder going up and down. Let me show you how you can actually control the speed in which it moves up and down. So we have this other option here. We have this dope sheet, and we have curves. So dope sheet is basically showing you all the keyframes that you have for your object. So you have like the origin keyframe, this interpolation point, and then another keyframe. If you click on curves, you can actually see how it moves kind of in terms of speed between one keyframe and the other keyframe. So you can actually move it to be something, you can move it around to be whatever you want. So you can basically change the way it moves Let's see if this does anything. Yeah, so you can basically this gives you another layer of control. So here I really exaggerated. I made it kind of overshoot that position, and then it has to go back and to kind of match this position. And I can also kind of click anything, any kind of graph here I want, any part of the graph. And I can just edit it this way. Let's see if I can do it this way. I can just move it like that, you know. I can do whatever. I can do it like that. It's like kind of nice control for artists. Maybe not too important for you, but it's nice to have. So that was like a dope sheet. So it just kind of adds more control over your animation. Any questions? Okay, so we saw how to create an animation. We saw how to kind of these different properties, you know, position, rotation, scale, color. We also saw how to kind of edit them manually here with this dope sheet, with these curves and dope sheet. We also saw how to integrate it into your painting. We said that there are issues between the scripts code and your animation kind of fighting on the same property like the position. And what I want to do now is I want to move back into the clock and show you a couple of more features with the clock. And then if we have time, we can do more stuff in animation. So let's save this. I'll go back to the clock. Okay, so it's a nice thing that you have a couple of these different scenes. You can kind of move quickly between them. So let's go to clock base. Okay, let's see if it actually works. What does it do? Okay, so my seconds is kind of working. So what I want to do now is I want to add, just to complete it for your, you know, to show you how it works in the full project, I want to add like an hour handle and a minute handle and have it all kind of built in here. And then I want to just copy this clock into my scene and use it in my scene. So let's do that. So I have my seconds handle, and let's call this minutes handle or minutes. And I'm gonna change its size and color to be a little bit different. So let's change its size. Let's make it a bit chubbier or something. No. And let's change it to be blue or something, different color. Like that. Where are you, minutes handle? Okay, minutes handle is right here. So I need to make it a bit chubbier. Not like that. Maybe like that. Let's add this color to it. Okay, let's see it work. Let's see that it works. No, I added the color by mistake to that seconds handle, so let's change it back. So I didn't want to add that color to you. I just want it to be on that. Actually, when I see it, I kind of see that's kind of a bad choice for a color. You can barely see it. Let's try this. Okay, that's a bit better. And let's change it to be a little bit grayish, I guess. So it's kind of like, okay. Actually, it actually does control everything. So let's create another black and change it to be a bit grayish. You can see you have to kind of play around with it a little bit to make it like more interesting. Okay, and then let's create another handle for hours. and make it a tad shorter. I just see that it's there. Hours should be here. Okay, and let's change it color to be blue or something. Okay, let's check that everything is working. Okay, I have like a very ugly clock over here with dot seconds, which looks kind of normal, but a minute handle that looks not so nice, and a blue hour handle, which is super thick. Let's just change that to be black maybe, so it's like less ugly, and let's just make it a bit skinnier. Not that skinny. No. I would say like that. Okay. So now let's actually connect all of this to the code. So if you remember our code, where's our code? We had a very kind of, if you go to the clock base, we had, this is our clock code, right? So our code for the clock is super simple. It only has the seconds handle. So we actually need to add the minutes and hour handle too. So let's just do that. So hours and minutes. And now all we have to do, we actually need to connect these guys. And so if you go to the clock base, now I have to drag hours and minutes into these slots. So let's do hours to hours and minutes to minutes. And now let's change the code to work with these hours and minutes. So you can see here I have like int current seconds, blah. So I have all this code for the seconds. Let's just find a way how I can copy paste this and with little modifications have it work with those handles. So let's just call this, and this is very ugly code, but it will work. Current minutes, minute. Okay, now minutes we have, so we have 60 seconds in a minute, right? And we have 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, so I guess this should still work because it assumes we have 60 minutes here. So it's basically 6 degrees per minute. So I think this should work out of the box. Let's just see without any changes. So I guess I have to do some changes. I have to actually change it to say minutes over here, and this current minutes stuff should be here. Save that. See if that works for minutes. Yeah, I see the minutes change. It's 49, so it's almost 50, so that looks correct. Now let's have the same thing done for the hours. So we're gonna just copy this again. Let's call it current hours, and that should be dot hour. Now this changes for hours, right? So we have 30, 60 degrees. We have 12 hours, right? 12 hours in a clock. This only shows up 12 hours for AM and 12 hours for PM, but it's only 12 hours. So if you just divide 360 by 12, that gives you a different thing than 6, right? What does it give you? Quick math question to you. 30. I trust you, so that's it. So it's going to be like 30 degrees per hour. Okay? Yeah, I think it's 30. So right now we can use this. Basically, we need to move it. So to use this, we need to just change this 6F to 30F. And it should all work out. It should be current hours. And this should be hours. So it's kind of like just using a little bit of math. Let's see if we didn't break anything. Let's save this. So yeah, this looks about right to me. So we have 4. It's pointing at 4. It's 51 minutes, so it's kind of above 50, and seconds are kind of correct. Of course, there's like some artifacts here. It's a bit ugly as a clock. I would work more on this to make it prettier, but I guess it's good enough for now. And I want to show you something else in this code, so we're just going to leave it as it is. Any questions on this kind of scripting code for the clock? So what we're going to do now, I want to use this clock in my painting scene. So I'm going to do the same trick I did as before. I'm going to drag this clock base here, okay? And let's go to our painting scene. Where's our painting scene? Here. Save. And let's drag the clock back from prefab here. You can drag it wherever you want, okay? Let's I don't know, let's move it so it's like here on the left-hand side. Like that. So you may need to kind of play a little bit with its rotation and size. Let's try to do that. Not that. It's a bit like weird. This looks a bit better. I think it's a bit distorted because it's part of the camera kind of is a perspective camera. You may need to play a little bit with the rotation to get it to look right. That looks a bit better. Okay. Now, if everything is fine, this should work out of the box when I click play. Let's see if that happens. Yeah, it does work out of the box. So, so you can easily create a clock in one scene. Move it to a different scene. You can kind of that way you can kind of compartmentalize your code into different modules, and each module could be simple, but you can combine it all together in one module, so it makes sense. Okay, one final thing I want to show you for today is how to do that kind of light on-off kind of module. So if you remember, there was in this in the demo here, we had like an AM PM light. Let's do that. Okay, so we have our clock, we have our paint app, which I just noticed. This should stop for a second. Let's just change this to be say sprint 2. It bothers me. Anyway, so to fiddle with the light, you actually have to change the way the light moves around. So you have I currently have this directional light. You can see it's here on the scene. It's my only light source. And the way I can play with it is I can actually change its transform properties over here. So one thing I can do, I can change its rotation, so I can change this to be 70, 60, 0, minus 50, whatever. And as you notice, as I'm playing around with this rotation, I actually change how well the seat is lighted. So if you notice here, 50 rotation on X is pretty lighted. 0 is kind of dawn or dusk, and minus 50 is dark. So let's use that when we're creating our button there to turn this to be like light or dark kind of mode, AM PM mode. So if you go to Click Manager, so what I already did is I created this public float light rotation. And I created also this game object light, which I'm going to use. Now, this is a very big trick that you can use also in your code. So say you want to try out a property, but you don't want to and you want to control it when you're playing your Unity app, but you don't want the user to control it. You would just want to control it from the editor just to try out some things. So this is the way to do it. Let me show you. So if you save it like this, and then you play this, you get this for free. Let's go to that Click Manager. You get like a kind of this slider over here. Right now it doesn't do anything. So let's see how to have this slider change the light rotation. Okay. So I want this light rotation property to change this float to change the rotation here, this X rotation of the light. So to make it 0 or minus 50 or 50. So let's do that. So the way to do it is you need to go to update. And I have this command right here that already does that for me. Well, let me explain what it does. So my light is a game object. So I just kind of connected it to my Click Manager over here. Here, I have a game object light. I just put my light there. This is my light over here, the directional light. And what I'm doing now is I'm just changing its local rotation to be the same as that value that I'm getting here in this slider. This is like just an editor-specific slider. So let's play this and see if this works. Okay, so it's pretty dark. Let's see what happens when I go to change it like this. Okay, so you can see you can gradually kind of play with it like that. Now this is just for fun. This is not really something I'm going to do in the UI, but this is just to show you like a kind of easy way to play around with parameters, not just with kind of just typing them as you usually do. Like it's kind of annoying, just type. You can just kind of have this parameterized like this. Now let's create that button. So we need to basically create a button. So let's go to a button. I don't know. Here, UI, legacy button, and move the button there to be over the clock. Actually need to make it like smaller, otherwise it will be kind of annoying. We'll call it AM PM. AM PM. And change this text to be AM, for example, or PM. Let's start with PM, and let's make it smaller. It's too large for the clock right now, so you have to change this width property. Let's make it 40, something like that, and move it to be here. Maybe like even smaller than 40, 35, or 30. Yeah, 30 works. 35. Okay, so I'm gonna just put this button, I don't know, let's put it somewhere here. It doesn't have to, it doesn't really matter where you put it, but I'm trying to not be too annoying, so let's just put it here. Now, if you look at that at that AM PM code here, it changes the lights, and it also kind of changes the text of the button. So let's work on those changes. So let's see, let's take a look at this button. So this button needs like some sort of function. Let's add that function. Let's call it, go away. Let's call this public void set AM, PM, whatever. Okay. Now if it's like AM, I want it to be PM, and if it's PM, I want it to be AM, right? So where's my remember, and I had this float here that controls the rotation. So let's use that. Set AM, PM. If so, what I'm gonna do, if light rotation is equal to 50, set it to be like I want it to be minus 50, and else just set it to be, else that means it's already minus 50, then just set it to be 50. It's like a simple way to switch between the two modes. And now that code was deleted, so let me save that, go back, let's copy this, and now I want to end this all up with that this kind of transform. So let's see if this works. I forgot to add the function. Let's add actually the function call for this button. So here it should be painting set AM PM. Okay, now let's see if this works. PM. Okay, so I got the light to turn on and off, which is cool. Now let's get this text to change. Okay, that's the final step. Can anyone tell me how I can do that? Does anyone know? How can I get this text of the button to change?
You can just isn't there a component on the button that's text?
Mm-hmm.
You can interact with that with the script.
Yeah, I can do that. So
Not a component, a game object.
yeah, so let's just text for AM PM button. That's just public text AM PM text. So what I want to do when I do set AM PM is I want this to be text equals AM. Otherwise, I want this to be PM. Okay, it doesn't matter. Like, I just want it to swap. And now to bring everything together, I need to connect that specific text module, which is here. So let's see if that works. AM, PM. Okay, cool. Any questions? No? So let me see if there's anything else I want to mention when you're controlling parameters that relate to position, rotation, and such. And the script is also trying to access that. Now, I want to finish now, and next week we can talk about how to deal with those fights between the animator and the script. Any questions? Okay, so you're free to work on your project twos.